Hi guys, for today's video I am making a tomato cage gnome for Christmas. So what you'll need for this gnome is a tomato cage, some greenery, some shears, and cable ties, and then some sort of mittens. You can do wood like I'm doing here, and that's pressure treated wood, or you can do just cloth mittens. It's up to you, or you can cut them out of if you have one of those Dollar Tree gift bags that are red or checkered, you can make them out of those as well. It's up to you. So, but what I'm using is this holiday red from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be painting my mittens. Now, my husband was kind enough to cut out 2 mittens for me, and I just drew the shape of a mitten on them, and basically I used my hand for the size and then just kind of made it a little bit better shaped, but you could do anything. And this was just a scrap piece of pressure treated wood that we had, like a fence board, that I used, and that's it. And once you paint these the color you want them, I wanted them red, so I'm using red, but you could do anything that you want. So this may be obvious to you, but in case it's not, sometimes I make mistakes like this. You want to paint this first so that way it dries, in case you're on a time crunch. I'm always on a time crunch. So you paint it first so that way it dries and it's nice and ready to go by the time you finish your gnome. Now you may have seen my planter video earlier last week, and that one I went ahead and I bought a whole bunch of greenery. So I was trying to save money on this one, and I just got greenery out of my backyard. But you would probably have nicer stuff if you purchase just a bundle, like maybe 2 bundles. I think they come, at least here, they come in 3-pound bundles. So if you purchase like 6 pounds, that would be more than enough to do this. It would like definitely be more than enough. So, but because I didn't want to spend the money, I just used it out of my garden. I have a bush that kind of hangs too low. So I just chopped it out from there. And I had an old tomato cage that I used this summer, and because this will just be a winter thing that I have out, I can still use this next summer if I wanted to. So that's all I'm doing there, is using that. And what you want to do is you want to connect the top of the part of the tomato cage that goes into the ground. You want to connect it together. I'm using zip ties. You could use rope. I wouldn't use floral wire because that can kind of stretch sometimes unless you use quite a bit. So I'm just using zip ties because I feel like they're the strongest. I apparently have a hard time with zip ties and putting them on the right way, so I happened to cut this one, so you'll see it kind of flick off at one point. But then what you want to do is, if you have nice even bundles, you want to bundle a few of them together, and then cut them to the length that you of your tomato cage. You can make it a little bit lower, like it doesn't have to. They don't have to start right at the top if there's greenery all the way to the bottom. But what I did is I started it at the top, but you can see where the greenery starts. So that'll be perfect because you want your hat to be just, at the top there, a little bit like below. So you want to have some greenery in there. It also hold the hat in place. So again, I'm using zip ties to tie some bundles, and you'll see that I changed my mind after, just because my bundles are not even, so it just works better not to have such huge bundles. And if you do what I'm doing from the garden, then just try to get some even bundles together and cut off any, bare pieces, but still save them because you might want to fill everything in, which is what I did, and then just used some fillers at the end, but you'll see what I mean. So then what I'm taking is taking the bundles and I'm just attaching them to at different points to the tomato cage, just taking one or two branches and just attaching them, one at the top and one a little bit lower, just so that it stays nice and put. You don't want to do it at the bottom because you want the like his beard part to kind of flow down, so you don't want to worry about moving it, like tying it out at the bottom. So then you just kind of do this until you fill him up and you just go all around. So what I'm also doing is if there's branches that are sticking out too much, like because like I told you they're not even, then you just want to cut it down and you can attach it again. Like if it's poking out too much because it's twisted or that's how it was growing. So you just cut it off and you put it in. Basically, you want the tomato cage hidden. Now, if this was going against a wall, like right at the back of the wall, you don't even have to bother with doing the back. Like I would just do all the way to the sides and then just leave that back part. You don't need to waste greenery on that if no one's going to see it and it's just going to be hanging back. Mine is sitting on my front porch. I wasn't sure where I was going to put it, but the way my front porch is, you can kind of see from the sides and everywhere. So it wasn't going against a wall. I knew that for sure, but I wasn't sure if I was going to put against something. So I just did the whole back. And again, because I had these for my garden, it wasn't a big deal. But if you're trying to save on money and you know it's going against a wall, you don't need to do that. So I just want to give you guys kind of like a close-up of how I put these zip ties, just so you know like what I did. And then now with these ones, like just the fillers, the parts where I'm filling in, I'm just attaching them right to the branches. And this way, they're a little bit squished at the top, but it's not really a big deal because at the bottom they're flowing out. And just tighten them as much as you can, because things do move around a little bit, so you want to make sure that they're tight so they don't fall out. And keep on adding until you fill everything in. That's why I said if you're cutting off little bits of the branches, make sure you keep them because they'll be great for filling in. And again, don't worry too much about having the top filled in as much as you want the bottom to be filled in, because that's what you're going to be able to see depending on where your hat sits. So then I just flipped it over to see where else I needed to fill in at the bottom. It was just a little bit easier than to have it be standing up. So I see here that there's kind of like a bald spot. So I am just getting some of the branches in here. And I noticed that some of them are really, really low. going kind of past the tomato cage part a little bit too much, so it will make the cage uneven. So I'm trimming that off as well and just adding everything into that bald spot there. I wound up just having to steal one branch from my planters, and it was kind of sticking out, didn't fit there anyway, but I was short just one little branch, so I added that in there as well. Um, and again, I'm just tightening them one together to the other. Now, I'm doing these a little bit loosely because I am doing it at the bottom, so I don't want them to be too smushed to the cage. So I'm just doing it nice and loose, and only by one branch, so I'm not having them, like I said, be too stuck to the bottom. So once you have everything filled in how you want it to be filled in, so you don't have any bald spots, then you just want to go ahead and attach your mittens. Now, you saw from the mittens that I painted that I had drilled a hole through them, and that there was a hole drilled through them. You didn't see me drill the hole. And that was so that I could put the zip tie through, or rope, or whatever you choose to use. So then you can attach the mittens easily. If you're doing cloth mittens, then you could use floral wire as well. Before I put the mittens on, I want to put this hat on. It's just a dollar store hat. Now it was flipped at, like it had like a double fold, and I undid the fold so that it would be a little bit longer. And I contemplated making a hat myself, but I just decided to use this one. There are longer versions of this hat at the dollar store, so if you are wanting like a nice long hat for your gnome, you can always pick those up. This was just $1.25 that I had bought a few years ago, and I had it, so I thought, why not use it? Like I said, I wanted to make this as inexpensive as possible. So just make sure you cut some. What I'm doing here is I'm cutting the branches up top because they are a little bit too high and I can't quite pull the hat on top. So, and make sure when you're pulling this hat down that you're pretty careful because those branches are sharp and you don't want them to cut through your hat because they will. So get your hat as low as you want it. I wanted it kind of as much as it would go, so with a little bit hanging off. So that's what I'm doing there. And again, I realized that I didn't cut some zip ties, so make sure you don't forget to do that because then you can see them and it's not as nice. So here's he is with his hat on, and then I'm going to use a sweet potato as his nose. Now, funny story about this sweet potato, because when I was getting the dirt out of my planters, and I just did that from the summer, I was using it for these winter planters. As I was digging, I found a whole bunch of sweet potatoes because I was using sweet potato vines as a part of my decor in the summer planter. These potatoes grew, and I mean, it's quite a big potato. So I was quite impressed. But anyway, I poked a hole through the potato and attached it with a zip tie once again. And then I'm doing the same thing with the mittens. So you'll see that I actually put them on the wrong side. So it didn't look right. So just make sure you're aware of that too, that you're doing, left mitten on the left side and right mitten on the right side. So once I get them to the right side, I attach them with the zip tie at the height that you wanted. Some people do it lower, some people do it higher. I kind of did it in the middle a bit. So if you haven't been to my channel, in my channel I do a lot of DIYs, trash to treasures, Dollar Tree DIYs, and thrift flips. I try to do a lot of home decor on a budget. My style is kind of farmhousey, rustic, and things like that. Christmas, I stick to farmhouse, but I kind of veer out because I like to decorate and use things that my kids will enjoy as well. So if that's the kind of stuff you like, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell to see more videos, and leave me a comment. Let me know, what do you think of this gnome. Here he is all finished. I'm not sure if I'm the happiest with the potato as his nose. I'm thinking I might put a Christmas ball ornament as his nose, but right now I really like the way he looks. He kind of looks like a grandpa gnome, or a grandma gnome. So thank you so much for stopping by and watching my video. Have an excellent day. Check out these videos that I'm posting here and come back on Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm going to have another DIY, and this time it'll be snow globes.